What's going on, guys? Snake Eyes here, playing some more Dark Souls 2, and in this video we're going to be doing a weapon showcase, and the weapon we're going to be showcasing today is the full Moon Sickle. Now if you don't know how to get the full Moon Sickle, all you have to do is farm the, I think they're called the Enhanced Undead, but I'm not too sure. Farm these guys right here, and they have a small chance of dropping the weapon. You could go to the Huntsman's Copse, but what I ended up doing was going to Harvest Valley, mainly because there are a lot more of them and pretty much a better chance in getting this weapon. All in all, though, I will say that I did have a hard time getting this weapon, and in all honesty, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now that it really wasn't worth it. Again, I'm not going to show the movesets to this weapon because it has a Reaper moveset. It's pretty familiar and it's not really unique, so I won't be doing any of that. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and go into the details of this weapon. Its base damage is at 125 and it has a 107 base damage in bleed. Since then I've actually upgraded mine to +10, so I get a 250 in the base damage and 160 in the bleed damage. It has 110 in the counter strength, 15 poise damage per hit. It weighs 8 pounds and it has 60 durability. The stats you need to wield this weapon is that you need 20 strength and 18 dexterity, and you get an E scaling in strength and an A scaling in dexterity. The way that I try to do these weapon showcases is, first off, I kind of pick the weapon on the looks, and right off the bat, the full Moon Sickle, in my opinion, looks really badass. I like the design of the weapon, and I really like how it looked, and that pretty much made me want to try out this weapon. I immediately farmed for it and grabbed it, and as soon as I got it, I upgraded it to +10 and all that, and seeing that it had an A scaling in dexterity made me even more excited to want to use it, mainly because my character is a dex build, so I was really expecting to do a lot of damage with this, and all in all, I have to say that I was pretty disappointed. I also try to find the good in these weapons, and I try to kind of keep it neutral, so that way people who watch these videos aren't swayed one way or another, and I try to point out the pros and the cons and kind of let you decide whether or not it may or may not be worth using. But with this weapon, I have to be honest, and I have to say that there are a little bit more cons than there are pros. The cons, the main one at least, being that it does have the Reaper moveset, and the Reaper moveset is actually not a bad moveset. It's very stationary, but the thing is with this weapon is that it really doesn't have too much length to it. Now, a lot of people have been saying that the Reapers, the Reaper weapon types in this game are pretty bad, and while that's not true, and some of them are actually pretty good, like the Scythe of Want, the full Moon Sickle, in all honesty, is it's just a little too short. If it had a little bit more range to it, then it would be a good weapon, but when you pair up the fact that it's not that long and the moveset itself is actually very stationary, all people really have to do is stand outside of your range. The fact that this weapon attacks kind of slow and it also has a slow recover time is another con for me. I was really surprised at how punished I was getting from doing some, doing maybe 2 R1s and then them coming in really quick and pretty much doing some real good damage to me. I was also really surprised at the fact that the damage that I was doing initially was actually kind of low, and what I had did was as soon as I grabbed it, I saw that it had did some built-in bleed damage. So what I ended up doing was going to Macduff and infusing this weapon with bleed, pretty much hoping that it would do some actual bleed status damage to these people. That was actually a really bad idea. The reason you're not seeing any PvP footage of me using a bleed infused full Moon Sickle is mainly because when I had it infused with bleed, I went out there for about 30 to 45 minutes and I didn't get a single win. And I had some pretty decent matches, I had some real close ones, but at the same time I didn't get a single win, and all in all, I pretty much went back to Macduff, uninfused it, and then when I uninfused it I actually came back and was seeing some actual progress. Another sort of con, I guess, is the fact that it does have a little bit lack in tracking. Most of these weapons, when you do certain moves, you can kind of aim with the left analog stick on exactly where you want to go, even though it hasn't done the full move yet. And with this weapon, I was kind of surprised at the running attack. I was trying to do maybe some control and kind of trying to like predict where the person would end up going, and I was really surprised at how often I was doing the running attack and I had very minimum control. If I ended up wanting to go left or right, I only went just a little bit and then I didn't go anymore after that. So that was kind of a con in my opinion, and pretty much all in all, if you're looking for a unique weapon but you still want to try to win some, I'll be honest, this one is not really one that you want to pick up. But at the same time, going into the pros of this weapon, the major pro that I can think of is the simple fact that this weapon is definitely a learning type weapon. I was noticing that the more and more I played on, the more comfortable I was getting with just the overall move set, the spacing, and pretty much everything about this weapon. And that was also when I started seeing some actual progress. Most of the footage that I actually ended up getting was towards the end of the session that I had with this weapon, and that was mainly because I had built up enough confidence into knowing how to use this weapon. So that's kind of something that if you're looking for a different type of weapon, especially since they say the Reapers aren't the greatest, and you pretty much want to build a little bit more skill in just a different type of weapon, this is definitely something that you should try out. Like I said, at first it's going to be a little rough, but when you start upgrading it and you infuse it with something and maybe even buff it with a little bit of magic or whatever, you're gonna start seeing some actual damage. And then once you start learning the moveset and the spacing that you need in order to actually start doing some decent work with this weapon, you're pretty much gonna have a good time. And that's kind of what I had got out of it. Even though there are a lot of negative things that I had to say about this weapon, I was actually really pleasantly surprised at the simple fact that once I actually learned how to use this weapon, I actually learned how to do some decent work with it. So all in all, I know that there were a lot of negative things that I said about this weapon, and I generally try to, you know, stay away and kind of keep them even as far as the pros and the cons go. But I hope that that one pro that I listed is enough for somebody to kind of just want to try it out, maybe see for themselves exactly what I'm talking about, because in its core I do believe that this is a good weapon, but only for somebody who's actually looking to invest some time with this weapon. If you're not really patient and willing to suffer a couple of losses, then this is not something for you. But if you don't really mind any losses and you really just want to try something new, then this is something you should pick up. That's pretty much going to wrap up this weapon showcase. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already. Pick this weapon up just to try it out and see exactly what I'm talking about. If you have any more pros, feel free to leave them in the comments below, because I'm pretty sure that there may be something that I might have missed. And for somebody who wants to try to see if they want to pick up this weapon, I'm pretty sure they are going to need a little bit more things to convince them to want to pick it up. So like I said, if you have a pro, leave them in the comments below, so that way somebody who's interested can check it out. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, take care.